The Hoyoverse games have several common themes. There's always some form of corruption that changes and mutates the world, elements are commonly present, and in each universe, there are always gods that govern its realities. This is the same in the universe Honkai Star Rail inhabits. These gods, however, are quite numerous, and there's still quite a lot we don't know about them. So in this video, let's talk about the many Eons that rule over the Star Rail universe. Before we get into that, if you want to see more Honkai Star Rail content, do consider subscribing to the channel. Since we are talking about the gods here, just expect there to be some spoilers in this video. Now, in general, this is a rather huge topic. There are many different Eons that exist, and each has a path that is associated specifically to them. In order to avoid making this video extremely long, I'm just going to talk about the Eons whose paths we are already aware of. But just for your information, there are a total of 14 Eons, each with their own paths. I'm sure you're a bit confused why I'm talking about paths in a video about the Eons. They are just elements or classes of the characters, right? Well, the thing is, these two topics are very closely related, and to talk about one of them, you need to talk about the other. Every time a god is born, a path is created. Think of paths as a collection of idealistic or imaginary energy that adhere and make up specific concepts. If we take the path of destruction as an example, any act or thought that coincides with concepts of destruction such as anger, recklessness, and direct destructive behaviors contribute or make up the path of destruction. So the path itself can be conceptual in nature, but can also encompass direct or physical actions as well. The Eons are each directly tied to their specific paths, and are forced to follow them upon their ascension. In this sense, the paths are basically the portfolio of each of the Eons. The Eon of Destruction, for example, will only pursue actions that are deemed to bring about destruction, and will likely be uninterested in anything else. This makes the Eons largely single-minded, and why communicating with them very difficult. If you happen to attract the gaze of one and talk about a topic it's not interested in, then it'll just probably leave or just ignore you outright. Being a collection of energy, the path is also the main source of power for these gods. Once a being ascends into godhood, they are permanently put on a specific path they are forced to follow. But it also grants them access to the unlimited energies the path itself is made up of. Many humans who adhere to certain beliefs or practices will often find themselves upon such paths. Natasha, for example, embodies the path of abundance through her beliefs and actions as a healer and a doctor. When a person has a strong enough will that, I suppose, resonates with a particular path, they too can access some of its powers. It's my speculation that this is how humans gain their powers in Star Rail, but it's unconfirmed at this point, so just take it with a grain of salt. Anyways, whenever a person achieves this, they are described to feel the gaze of the Eon associated with that particular path. We've seen this happen with the main character when Nanook, the Eon of Destruction, averted his gaze for but a moment to cast his view upon the main character. Now, I can't underline this enough. You might think that this symbolizes some form of acknowledgement, but in reality, it's just a fleeting speck of curiosity from the Aeon, as someone of a strong enough will was able to step foot on their path. They are still largely uninterested, or at least that's how it's explained to us, as this connection is the most interaction any mortal can hope to get from such lofty beings. So now that you roughly know what the Eons are, let's briefly talk about some of them. In the future, when enough information is released, I'll probably do a dedicated video for each of these gods, but for now, we can just cover each within the span of this video. The first Eon that we see in-game is the Eon on the path of destruction, Nanook. He appears as a humanoid male with dark skin and golden energy emanating from his body, along with a huge open gash on his chest. Based on the little we know about him, he was born from someone called Adlivun when their world was destroyed. We don't know much else about his origins, but he is said to be the progenitor of the Stellaron and was the god who distributed it across the universe. While not much is known about the Stellaron itself, considering it's referred to as a cancer of all worlds, they are likely seeds that can cause untold destruction when given the opportunity to develop. This is in line with Nanook's goals, as he views the birth of the universe as a mistake, and to correct its cause, it must be destroyed. Functionally, he embodies the concept of entropy. The next Eon we run into is Qlipoth during the events of the Belobot campaign. Qlipoth is the Eon of the Path of Preservation, which embodies ideals related to patience, sacrifice, and any defensive behavior, such as protecting someone. True to the Path of Preservation, Qlipoth is one of the oldest Eons in existence and takes on the appearance of a large stone golem adorned with gold-colored energies and minerals strewn across its body. His appearance is why he is often referred to as the Ember Lord. Now, Qlipoth is mentioned to have several feats under his belt, but to be honest, it isn't clear what these refer to. The Celestial Comet Wall, the Subspace Crystalline Barrier, and the Great Attractor Base all sound impressive, but we have no idea what purpose they serve. He was also mentioned to have created a seal that isolated and protected living worlds from any danger, and being on the path of preservation, we can sort of assume that these other constructs of his serve a similar purpose. Now, it's unclear if he's doing this purely for the sake of preserving living beings or he has some other motive, but given the single-minded nature of the Aeons, it's likely the former is at play here. Now, from here on out, the rest aren't that well known and we have yet to meet them, so just keep that in mind. The Path of the Hunt is governed by the Aeon Lan, who appears as a massive humanoid chariot hybrid thing. I have no idea what this thing is, but they are referred to as the Archer Lord of Fate and travels the cosmos, destroying the many sinful creations of the Aeon of Abundance. This Aeon focuses more on the act of the hunt itself and does not distinguish between salvation and destruction. It stands in contrast to the Eon of Abundance, who heals and creates without any meaningful consideration. That makes a great segue to the Eon of Abundance, Yaoshi. Yaoshi appears as a four-armed humanoid with feminine features, clad in green and white. She is the embodiment of life and nurtures and creates it whenever possible. This is why the path values healing and altruism. Now, why does the Eon of the Hunt and the Eon of the Abundance stand in opposition to each other? Well, it's simply because while Yaoshi's path does embody healing and altruism, their main goal is the proliferation of life. All life. This includes both the good and the bad, and the Eon of the Hunt doesn't see the purpose of these bad existences and thus aims to destroy them. There are even cases where through the unrestricted creation of life, many wars and fighting occur. Yaoshi itself isn't specifically evil, as she really is just fixated on ensuring any and all life prospers, but doesn't see the after effects of such single-minded pursuits. So despite them being at odds with each other, neither are truly evil in the traditional sense. But that's really all we know so far about the Eon of the Hunt and the Eon of Abundance. Next up, we have the Eon of Erudition, the Lord of Truth and Logic, Nous, or Nos? I don't know. At the current point in the story, we don't know what the Eon of Erudition looks like, but it's said that before its ascension, it was an astral computer designed and tasked with providing answers of the universe. It likely ascended after evolving sufficiently, and my guess would be that it has some mechanical appearance, but I don't know. The Path of Erudition values logic, thinking, and strategic behavior, and while we can guess at what the Eon itself is like, it's very possible that much like its original design, the Eon of Erudition aims to understand the universe in its entirety. Now, opposite to the cold and direct nature of logic is the Eon of the Path of Harmony, Zipe or Zipe. I swear, some of these names are more mysterious than the Eons themselves, and I'm probably butchering them, so just give me a pass for now. The game is still new. The Eon of Harmony values beliefs that encourage support and cooperative behaviors. It preaches the ideals of unity amongst humans and all living beings. We don't really know much about this Eon, though it seems to focus a lot on the concept of self-sacrifice, such as the strong must protect the weak. But that's about all we know about it. Finally, we reach the last of this list. One of the most mysterious of the Eons, and so mysterious that I have no idea how to say its name. Now, I don't know if this is really pronounced as Ix, like IX, or it's just the Roman numeral for 9. So I'll just refer to it as the Eon of Nihility. Nihilism is basically a belief that life and everything associated to it is meaningless. Most on this path believe that the universe will inevitably return to a state of nothingness, and thus everything up to that point is just, well, pointless. The Eon of Nihility doesn't even seem to have a permanent or tangible form, and upon gazing on its visage, all one really sees is just mist and space folding onto more mist and space. True to its path, it doesn't really interact much with other Eons and seems to just be waiting for all of it to end. Because of its nature, again, we don't really know much else about it. And that's basically all the Eons of the 7 main paths that we currently know. There is one more that is practically the reason the Star Rail exists, but I will likely cover that Eon in a separate video. As I mentioned at the start, there are many others I have yet to cover, so perhaps a part 2 will come out in the future, it depends. Frankly speaking, we don't know much about these Eons at this point, but it does seem that for most of them, they were mortal one time or another. Perhaps those who step on their paths also hold the potential to ascend and usurp them, but it's still early in the story to tell that for sure. I hope that moving forward, we do see more of the Eons and maybe get an expansion on their story, but for now, we'll just have to wait. That does it for this video though. If you enjoyed it, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. As usual, have a nice day.